Hey everybody, so today I'm here to share with you guys my favorite horror movies. So I'm just going to quickly show you my credentials. This is my side of the bedroom and my office space. Also, horror movies are my genre that I go to if I'm going to pick a movie. Most of the time it's going to be a horror movie. I watch these all year long. I've said what I needed to say. I rest my case. And I will say before jumping into my list that I do think that some of these are unpopular. In fact, I know the one that I'm going to start off with is definitely unpopular. I don't see many people have my top favorites in their favorites, but you know, just like anything, horror subjective. I'm not saying anybody has bad takes or whatever else. This is what I like, and I wanted to put it out there because it obviously is spooky season. We actually have a nice fall day. My windows are open, so you know, excuse any outside noise you hear, but I'm just terrified we're going to go back to 90-degree weather in 2 days. So I'm trying to enjoy the breeze while I have it. So we're going to jump straight into the list. I have 9 favorites. Yes, 9, not 10. I'm not forcing myself. I'm not cutting it down. I'm not adding things in that I don't mean. These are what I like, and I'm sticking to it. And then I have one honorable mention. So the first honorable mention, like I said, I don't believe this to be popular at all, but it's true nonetheless. And this is my favorite Halloween movie. I watch it every Halloween without fail. It's not one that I really ever watch outside of Halloween. I don't know that I like it enough to really throw it up in there into my favorites, but it certainly is worth mentioning, especially for spooky season. And because if you forced me to pick 10, I'd probably put the first one in there. So honorable mention is the Rob Zombie Halloween movies. So yes, I know that lovers of the Halloween franchise typically don't like his adaptations. There's 2 of them. There's Halloween and then Halloween 2. So there's 2 Rob Zombie Halloween movies. Honestly, that franchise is kind of a mess. The offshoots that they have and the things that they have going on, which, you know, girl, many other franchises are right there with you. So that was not any disrespect at all. So I'm just saying that it's kind of complicated to understand, and especially the order, but the Rob Zombie movies really are something of their own. And like I said, not a lot of people like them, but personally, I don't find the original Halloween movies to be scary. You know, Michael Myers in those movies as a character, just the guy following me everywhere, it's like, that's just irritating. However, Rob Zombie's Michael Myers, 500 yards away. Please and thank you. Like, I'm calling the authorities, 911. So creepy. It is a little bit cheesy in the second one, but with the plot, I can just overlook it. I just feel like he made it a lot deeper in so many different ways. So I've said what I needed to say. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but it's my honorable mention and I'm sticking to it. Number 9 is You're Next. So this movie came out a while ago. I think my husband and I were like freshly together. We've been together for 13 years. But regardless, I remember watching the trailer together and thinking it was going to be one thing, and it ended up being a completely other in the best way possible. So Your Next is about a girl who is going to dinner. I don't know if it's her fiance or if it is her boyfriend at that point. But either way, her partner's family is having this big get together at one of their estates. I do feel like there was some kind of reason they were coming together, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But basically, they're having dinner and things start going sideways really quickly. So I'm not going to say anything more, but this movie has so many different things about it that I enjoy in a horror movie. It's not just like a who done it, why is this happening kind of thing. It also has other elements in there like survival and other things that I'm just not going to say because I don't want to spoil it, but it has a lot of different undertones layered in there as well as with the who done it. So it's a great movie. I highly recommend it. And then number 8, I'm just not going to even say that I recommend it anymore because obviously I recommend all of these. I'm not your mom though. I don't make these life decisions for you. So do your own work. Make sure that they're appropriate for you. I'm just telling you what I like. Anyways, number 8 is Don't Breathe. Now this is made by one of my favorite directors of all time, Fede Alvarez. Oh my gosh, so good. I'll watch anything he makes, truly, 100%. If you know where this shirt is from already, we can be best friends, but I'll keep moving on about Don't Breathe. First of all, the cast is amazing. So Jane's in it, and I love Jane for obvious reasons, if you get the shirt. This movie specifically is about a couple of kids, actually I think it's technically 3 kids, who are trying to break into a blind man's house because they think he has all this money stashed away. So they're going to steal it to get out of town. But obviously things don't go according to plan. It ends up being super creepy, and there is a lot more to the story than just breaking and entering and trying to get out. So much more. The cast, amazing. I could sit here for 45 minutes talking about Jane and the depth that she has as a scream queen, but I'll digress. And also the kid who plays Clay Jensen from 13 Reasons Why. I know he's got a full name. I don't know it, and I should, because I love him and about everything that he does. Again, he's just really deep. He can really just pivot to whatever role he's in. I mean, we watched Goosebumps with our kids, the remake from I think 2014 with Jack Black. He was amazing in that. So like, he just has a range that I really like him in more serious, emotional, even scary kind of ones. So anyways, I'll keep going. And then number 7 is The Strangers. This, kind of like Halloween, I don't think I really need to explain it. I think a lot of us know what this is already. If you don't though, brief synopsis. A couple is going to his parents' house after a wedding that they attended, and things start getting really strange. Obviously, you know, weddings can go like really late into the night, so I think it's like 2, 3 a.m. when they show up there. And then, you know, they have someone knocking on the door, but the light on the porch has been screwed out just enough to not work. And, you know, they're asking just for a person who's not home, who doesn't live in the house, and then that person keeps coming back and other strange things start happening, and it's just kind of like a frog in a boiling water situation where we're just slowly increasing that heat and they don't realize what's going on until it's too late. So it's a really creepy movie. I have not seen any of the offshoots, the remakes, the whatever you want to call them at this point that are happening, but I think it's just because The Strangers was really like it felt like my first real movie where I was like, I love this genre. That was such a good movie for so many different reasons. I was scared, I was heartbroken, I was this, I was that, and it was just like, it really was like one of the first times I fell in love with this genre, so I am terrified to have it tainted by the sequels and the whatever else they're doing. The after effects of that only happen because people love it so much. And I know it's coming out of a place of love, but sometimes just leave it alone. Number 5 is, oh, I almost skipped number 6. Number 6 is Quiet Place, specifically the first one. So this franchise now has 3 movies, the third of which just came out this year. I personally like that one for more of like a human connection standpoint. I really like that one. And then the second one I just absolutely adore because Cillian Murphy is in it, and we still have Emily Blunt, so I'm just a fan of theirs. And then the first one is just OG for me. It's spectacular. It was so different than anything that had ever been brought to the table before when it came to horror. I'm a huge John Krasinski fan. He plays Jim from The Office. I'm not a Jim hater, so I personally love him. And I also love John as a person. I think he makes really incredible movies. We watched If with the kids. We really enjoyed it. So I just love his work. However, going into this movie, it was just such a surreal experience. Normally with horror movies, there's a lot of music, there's a lot of talking, shouting, screaming, things going on. You're worrying if you're missing this, that, or whatever. And like, despite it having none of that, it still had so much ambiance. Like, unmatched. Now, my husband and I disagree about the ending. I like it. He doesn't. Regardless, it's still a good movie. However, it's not one that I find myself watching a ton at home, because normally I like to put movies on while I'm doing my nails or doing this or doing that or whatever, kind of like in the background. And especially with the first one, there's almost no verbal talking and it's all done through American Sign Language. So you do have to actually watch it. But nonetheless, an amazing movie, and it will forever be in my list. Number 5 is Smile. So this is one that both my husband and I didn't really expect a whole lot out of, but Now it is my husband's favorite horror movie, which is saying a lot because he does not have favorite horror movies. He watches them with me. They're not what he is going to go and put on himself. All the horror movies I've ever had him watch, he's never been like, oh my God, that was, amazing. That's my favorite or anything like that. So when we walked out of Smile, and then shortly after when it got released for home and we watched it there too, he was like, that's my favorite horror movie. And I was just so shocked. But this is specifically about a woman who is, I don't know if she's a clinical psychiatrist or psychologist, but either way, one of those in a hospital setting. And she has a patient to intake. She works in the mental health ward, and she's intaking that patient. And while that's happening, something awful happens, and she basically gets cursed. I'm going to leave it there. That's it. I went into that movie, and so did he, Pretty Blind, and I really liked that. This movie is not just about the curse. It has to do with other things, with the character's own backstory. So good. I leaned over halfway through that movie, and I told Mark, if they don't botch the ending, this is going to be one of my favorite movies. Hands down. And it is. Because they did not botch the ending. Wow. Did they not? So, loved that one. Number 4 is a shocker to me. An absolute shocker. That's Alien Romulus. Now, anybody who's seen this movie knows it's not a shocker to be on my list because it was that amazing. It was so good. But as somebody who pre-gamed and watched all the Alien movies beforehand because she had never seen any of them, and Fede Alvarez was directing this one, and I knew I wanted to see it, I was like, okay, I gotta do this. I gotta do it. I gotta watch these movies. I watched them. I like the first 2. I really do. I do. After that, count me out. It's enough. So, I didn't know what to expect walking into this one because Romulus is supposed to be between the first 2 movies, if I remember correctly. And wow. Shock of my life leaving that movie theater and being like, oh, an Alien movie is in my top horror movies. Never would have guessed it. Never would have guessed it. It is the same general idea of all the other Alien movies. Same creature we're talking about here. But what Fede does with it is so top tier. My problem with the other Alien movies were that it was the same thing, but it was getting monotonous. They were not splicing it up in any way that really felt any different, despite being in different places and different timelines. And Fede happened to just do that while still keeping the main themes of the Alien franchise and doing it a good service. And I will say, one of the reasons I love Fede so much is because he uses the most minimal amount of CGI as possible. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. You need to see that movie. And if the last 15 minutes don't get you to put that in your top list, I don't know what will. Alright, so after Alien Romulus at number 4, we've got number 3, and that is Talk to Me. So Talk to Me is definitely one of my favorite movies of all time. I would say these top 3 are like my top 3 movies of all time. Doesn't matter the genre. Now, underneath these 3, I have other favorite movies that aren't horror movies. However, these 3 just did something to me on every level imaginable. I can't explain it. These are just it for me. So Talk to Me is actually based in Australia, which, first of all, love. If I had to pick an accent that I love the most, I would say Australia, New Zealand. I know that they're very different accents, but I'm just saying that region, that area, I love their accents. So anytime I get a whole movie just to listen to them, I love it. I'll be honest, what took me to go see this movie was the fact that Zoe is in it. We know Zoe from Wentworth, which is an amazing show. You can watch it on Netflix. We have it here in the US. Highly recommended. I think it's probably one of my husband and I's favorite series ever that we've watched together. Just so good. Not about that though, but Zoe is in that and they are absolutely amazing in it. So I knew seeing that, I was like, okay, I'm in. You want to talk about a film that has ambiance? This is it. the music, the vibes, the general energy exuding off this film is top tier for me. I can't explain it. I just can't. There's not words. But I've got the vinyl score for a reason. And honestly, I only play it when my kids aren't around because it's super freaky. I knew with A24, I knew with the cast, I was probably going to like this. But I saw that movie, I think, 3 times in theater. That's how much I loved it. I went and saw it with my husband, and then I went and saw it with my sister when she came home for a little bit, and then I went and saw it by myself again before it left theaters. So from the cast, and also within the first 10 minutes of the movie, I was hooked, line, sinkered, okay? This movie is about a ceramic hand that kids use at parties to talk to the dead. And they're using this almost like drugs or alcohol, where they're like enhancing the party. They're trying to have a good time. They're like being silly with it. And it has that kind of like euphoric kind of element to it every time that they get to experience speaking with afterlife and all these things. They do have some rules, you know, they make sure that the person is seated in the chair, and then they also make sure that they're tied to that chair, and they only go for a certain amount of time, and then it has to be done, and they try to do it responsibly, but of course it gets out of hand, and they go over the time limit. And I'm not going to say a word more. Right before things start to go sideways, there's a scene where they're all revolving, they're taking turns, they're all having fun doing this constantly, and the music, the way that was shot, everything, beautiful. It's one of my favorite horror scenes of all time. I can't say enough good things. So we're just going to move on because we'll be here forever if I try. Number 2, and this should be a surprise to nobody, but that is It, the remake from 2017. Again, maybe unpopular, but I think that this movie was absolutely amazing. I rewatch it all the time. It has everything. It has everything that I'm looking for. There's a lot of things that this movie has that I like about it. However, there's two standouts, and that is humor. Actual humor, not cheesy, trying to be funny kind of humor. Actually funny stuff. Do you know what a staph infection is? I love those kids. I love them, okay? They are hilarious. I loved the way that those kids were working off of one another, and just all around. I think Finn is a great actor, and I've loved to see him come into his own over all the different things that he's been in. But wow, do him, and I'm sorry I don't know the other kid's name, but they just together, they offer that comedic release that lets you be like, oh, okay, this is lightening up. It's you know, that wasn't so serious. And then they turn it around, and you got Bill Skarsgård, who is the number one reason why I love this movie, as Pennywise, and he is just unreal. Like, a lot of people think, and I mean, a good part of it is special effects makeup. It is, you know, things that he was wearing and the way that he was looking and stuff. But a lot of the mannerisms are just things he can do on his own. The way he contorts his mouth, the way he looks up through his eyes, his eyebrows, the things, like the way he can narrow his eyes even. I've seen Bill do those in just regular interviews. It is just the man who can do that. It's not necessarily the character. But him as that character just adds this creepiness. And so you're being loosened up constantly by these hilarious kids. You're rooting for them so hard, and they're trying to get together, and they're trying to figure it out together, and there's just all this camaraderie, you know? But then and then you have Bill Skarsgård just being absolutely terrifying and a menace the whole time. And I just like I had mentioned the scene in Talk to Me, I will never forget when I saw Bill Skarsgård crawl out of that fridge and the way he went, and he's mocking the kids. And it was genuinely terrifying. There's nothing else to say about it. If you haven't seen the remake, you really should. The second one is okay. It's all right. There's definitely some super creepy parts about it too. I just don't love it as much as the first one. And I don't even know why I'm looking at my phone. I don't. I think I just want to make sure I was on to the last one. And the last one, my favorite movie of all time. I've seen it so many times and I love it to death. Evil Dead. Evil Dead, specifically the 2013 remake. Okay? Because here's the thing. That is a big asterisk to put in there. I have never seen any of the I have never seen any of the older Evil Deads, is what I was trying to say. I have since seen Evil Dead Rise. I was not a fan. But that doesn't matter. We're talking about Evil Dead from 2013. And like I've mentioned before, Fede Alvarez, my favorite director, made this. This is the film that like really turned me on to him. And if Strangers was the point where I'm like, oh my God, I love this genre, Evil Dead was, this is it for me. Like, this is, I've found my niche. Like, this is, yes. I don't know how else to put it, but truly that's how I feel when I watch this movie. It is so perfect to me. I will not hear criticism. I won't. It does have cringy parts, but also it was made in 2013, so early 2010s. I think most were cringy. Everything that Fede did, all the work that went into this remake was absolutely beautiful. Now, I've seen a lot of Evil Dead franchise people say that they hate this one, that they think it's like a disrespect to the franchise, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that the man who plays Ash in the original Evil Deads actually had a heavy hand with producing Evil Dead from 2013, and he was actually really happy with it himself. Brief intermission, but as I was saying, Fede only uses the CGI that he has to, and when it came to the Evil Dead movie, he was very adamant that he wanted everything that could be done physically by the actors to be done. So if you watch the behind the scenes, you will see how much of it was not CGI, and that's why it looks amazing. Now, I will say a lot of films at that time had great CGI, maybe even better CGI than what is currently going on with film today. However, I just feel when it comes to horror, CGI is super obvious. It's really overused, and I think a lot of us are just kind of tired of constantly seeing it. So it was like a breath of fresh air that you got like this really gory movie, you know, Evil Dead, that's known for all of its like extremes and stuff like that. But you didn't have to watch just a CGI film the whole time. And it just had this ambiance, this creepiness, just everything about it. I think most of us know what Evil Dead is about, but I guess I'll be more specific with this one, just in case you're wondering. But this specific remake is about a girl named Mia, and she's headed to her family's cabin that's run down and not taken care of anymore. But they're all headed out there because she is trying to quit her addiction cold turkey. So her brother comes out, her brother's girlfriend, a couple of their friends together, and they are all going to stay in the cabin while Mia rides this out. So while Mia is trying to navigate all of that, and one of their friends is a nurse, so she's trying to help Mia medically through it as well, the boys stumble upon something. They find the book. They then do things with the book, and, you know, kind of the usual chaos from Evil Dead movies that you've seen before kind of ensues. So it's really great. If you loved Alien Romulus and all of the respect that Fede brought to that franchise, I truly believe that you would like Evil Dead as well. Like I said, it's got a couple cringe moments, but it is also over a decade old at this point. But it stands the test of time with me. No matter what I see, no matter what movie I've watched over the past 10 plus years, there's just nothing that tops Evil Dead for me. It will always have a place in my heart. Mia is my favorite horror movie girl. I'm not going to ruin anything for you, but if you watch any of these movies, I think you'll have a spectacular time. Like I said, I don't want to sit here and say that this is for somebody, this isn't for somebody. Make sure you're looking into if things are appropriate for you and what you're comfortable with scare-wise and stuff like that. But if you watch any of these, I think they're going to be a good time. Let me know if we have any favorites in common. I'm really eager to see that because, like I said, I don't see my favorites on anybody else's list. So I'm really curious if we have any in common. If you stuck around for the entire video, go ahead and put the book emoji, any book emoji, in the comments for Evil Dead. So I know that you stuck around for the entire time. Thank you so much if you did. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And as always, thanks for watching.